Hey Dan, it's Thursday morning. I realize I have 3 days left on my trip, and I'm coming to you from a little courtyard. Um, it's like a craftsman courtyard. There's woodcraft, there's glass blowing, there's wood. I already said woolcraft, ceramics. Um, that's the main, well, not the main street, but one of the side streets down there through that arch. And I am sitting outside of this little cafe where I just went in and had coffee by myself. Which brings me up to the subject of this video. So really this is just an amalgam of Baltic swimming videos over the last several days. And I thought, well, I guess I'll just do a voiceover on that because it's not actually all that interesting to watch. But I wanted to talk about sense of isolation. I don't know if you feel that when you travel. I'm guessing you probably do, especially when you're out for an extended time. I mean, obviously I have Beth, I have Duncan and Clelia and Layla. And I have been spending a lot of time with them. Usually in the mornings, I will, along with Duncan, walk Layla to school. It's, 10 or 15 minute walk. And then in the afternoons, I'll go with Clelia to pick her up from school and carry her back. Sometimes literally. But what I realize is that, I'm a fairly gregarious guy and I get out a lot and go out on a lot of walks. But it's really, really hard to engage anybody in conversation here. I think I need to go to Ireland. Even if you go into a pub here, it's hard to get people talking. It's hard to get shopkeepers talking. I met one young woman who had excellent English. She's a tour guide in the summers here. She works in a used bookstore, and she talked quite a bit. I've met another woman named Taylor, who you'll see in this video is the only other person swimming other than Duncan and me. And I've seen her, I would say, 2 out of every 3 mornings down at the Baltic. And she goes down every day and gets in at about the same time we do. This morning, for example, it was just, she and I were the only ones down there. Duncan didn't end up going, he ended up going to work early. But even then, it was, 2 or 3 minutes of conversation. And then she said, well, have a nice day, and off she went. So that's, I don't know if there's such a thing as typical Estonian, but, that's what I get more often than not. And so, even when I go to the same shop again and again and again, it's still hard to get people really chatting. And then, of course, there's language. In the US, of course, it's not like we don't have things. We don't hear different languages. Typically, it's Spanish. But, here it's, this town is almost entirely fueled by tourists. I was trying to imagine what this town would be like, what Vanillin, Old Town, would be like without all the tourism. Would it even still exist, or would it have fallen into ruins? Hard to say. But I rarely hear English on the streets. Most often the signs are at least in the tourist areas, are in Estonian and English and Russian. Sometimes they're just in Estonian and Russian. Sometimes they're just in Estonian and English. But I went to the grocery store the other day I needed to pick up beans for dinner. Clelia wanted me to grab black beans. And it took me a long time to find them. Mainly because I don't have cell service, which is fine. So I'm on Wi-Fi only. But at the grocery store, I didn't have Wi-Fi, so I couldn't look up Estonian word for beans. So I ended up going into what looked like the bean aisle. Eventually finding black beans, svarte bönor. Except when I got home, I realized that svarte bönor is actually Swedish for black beans, because this package obviously came from Sweden. It was a package of organic black beans. So anyway, it's taken a while for me to sort this out. So often the food packaging is in Estonian and Latvian, sometimes Estonian and Russian, sometimes Swedish and Russian, sometimes Swedish and Estonian and Latvian, but rarely in English, which is fine. I've learned, at least what I'm looking for. I know what cream is, I know what milk is, I know what butter is, obviously cheese, a lot of things you can tell by looking at them. The only packaging that's in English are really sort of American imports, like tortillas, which is funny because they're obviously Mexican. And it's hard to get anybody. People will help if you ask them, but it's, at some point it becomes awkward and you just want to, try to go at it alone. So, but that, of course, contributes to that feeling of isolationism. Where do you go to find people to talk to? I did have a great conversation with a woman who's a friend of Clelia's that was part of her book club, and her book club was over for dinner, and then Duncan and I, that's when we went climbing to the climbing wall, and then we came back before they were done, and I was able to talk to a woman named Pirate for a really long time. Her English is excellent. She lived in the UK for 8 years. She teaches English. But even then, it's just not quite the same as having, just being able to go, to the swimming pool and seeing all of my friends at the swimming pool, or going to the river and seeing my buddies at the river. Or coming to Pendleton and going to, the food truck. So, yeah, travel is great. I'm enjoying it still. I'm doing a lot of wandering, and I have discovered a lot of other things that I didn't see the last year when I was here. But what I really want is I want to go to the same place every morning, and I want to be able to talk to people. I want to see people, and there's nobody to really have discussions with here except for my own family. Now, today, Clelia and Beth and Layla are at the children's library, and I didn't want to go. So here I am sitting at a cafe in a courtyard down a side street by myself, lamenting about being isolated. So I'm interested to find out when you get to Wales and you're there for 6 months, how it is after the first month or the second month or the month, or how you're developing relationships with people that you're going to be seeing every day. And do you find that sustaining, or are you perfectly happy out wandering, the hills and the dales of Wales by yourself? Or do you find that you get enough social time just with Sarah when you guys are out traveling, that you don't need to be at a pub or, the cafe, chatting people up? So, this morning I told you I went down to the Baltic because Duncan went to work early, and I was again down there by myself, and then Taylor showed up, so that was fine. At least I had somebody to talk to, even if it was an Estonian and it was short-lived. So, well, I think that about does it for this video. I'll wrap this up, and
step up on the rocks and you don't get all the.
Oh no, I'm not done. Sorry, I've got more yet. So, as I said, it's Thursday. Oh, here's my big strip tease. Then there you go. That's all you get. I hope you enjoyed that. Anyway, this is Taylor. So
yeah, but she's
Duncan thought it was
around.
rather creepy of me to shoot video for swimming, but I wanted to at least prove that there was somebody else swimming in the Baltic other than me. Apparently there's a group of 100 or so, but they meet at a different place every time, and I just haven't gotten organized enough to figure out what the public transport is to get there. So it's Thursday. Tonight Duncan and I are going to go out to a place that serves oysters like me. He likes oysters.
Oh yeah, that's
And then
what
Beth and Colleen and,
helps. Is it? No.
excuse me, Beth and Claylee and Layla are going to go do something else on their own. Tomorrow, something's going on tomorrow. I don't know what it is. I know Layla's spending the night with us. This will be the third night that she has slept over with us, which, you know, honestly is really easy. She goes right to sleep, and it's not a problem. Anyway, it's the weather's been great here. I think it's been great. It's been almost 40 every day. It's closer to freezing today, a little damper, overcast, but fine. This morning when I went swimming, it was blue sky and the sun was just coming up. Now when I say just coming up, that does not mean it was early. It was like 9:30. So the sun comes up at about 9:30. Anyway, that's another thing that I think contributes to the sense of isolation, is the fact that it's so damn dark. You know, I go to bed, obviously when it's dark. I wake up and it's still dark. And you have no idea what time it is. Whether it could be 5 in the morning, it could be, 8:30 in the morning. It's really disconcerting.
Now the other easy thing is
But I'm looking forward to.
because you're in a hurry to get out, you have to really take your time getting out.
I'm looking forward. I guess I'm looking forward to getting back, but it's this is actually the last video clip. This was a stormy day. Duncan was like, I don't think I want to do something, but I did anyway. It wasn't so bad.
I'll let you know when it's been 5
You
minutes.
got cold faster than you wanted to. But anyway, wrapping our trip up. We'll be heading home soon. We're trying to figure out whether we're going to come back in September. Hopefully you can make it out in March. It would be really good to see you. The weather still sucks in March, but what do you do? Sorry, I lost my train of thought. So this is it. Hope you're well. You guys are getting ready to go to France. Thanks for sending that video of Scott's memorial. I haven't watched the whole thing yet, but I am going to later today watch it. So safe travels to you. Enjoy the steadiness of the French. Eat a couple of croissants for me.
Only 4 more minutes.
If you see anybody I know, tell them I said hello. All right, good. I guess that's my story, and I'm gonna stick to it.
Okay, that was worth it. Woo! Oh man! Boy, I wish you Minnesota people were here. Ooh la la. You would love it. You gotta get a picture.